everything. But I'm just excited to go out there and learn from the people playing in front of me, and if I get a chance to showcase what I can do, I'm going to do that. I'm excited for it.
How have you been as a player when things are really exciting? Do you try to do too much? Do you have to stop yourself from
Last question.
Bronny coming off of the best game as a Laker, and then goes to South Bay, goes for 37.
39.
Thank you.
Yeah, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it.
I knew you'd have it. Don't be short on that. When
LeBron didn't expect this. Bronny's statement shocks NBA. The entire world was waiting for LeBron James to speak, but in a stunning, unprecedented twist, it was his son who stepped to the microphone. And when Bronny James finally broke his silence, he didn't deliver a scripted thank you or a defense of his famous father. He delivered a statement so raw, so unexpected, and so brutally honest that it left the NBA speechless, and LeBron himself facing a reality he never saw coming. This is the moment the pupil taught the teacher, and the basketball world may never be the same. Hit subscribe to witness the moment a legacy was challenged from within. The setting was supposed to be routine, a standard post-practice media availability for the Los Angeles Lakers rookies and end-of-bench players. Bronny James, who had maintained a strict, polished silence since the luxury car scandal erupted, was on the list to speak. Most expected a brief, carefully managed statement of gratitude and focus, a carbon copy of 1,000 other rookie interviews. What followed was anything but routine. Bronny stepped to the cluster of microphones, his demeanor calm, but his eyes carrying a weight that seemed beyond his 19 years. He thanked the reporters, then paused, looking down at his notes before decisively pushing them aside. The room stilled. "I've been quiet," he began, his voice steady but firm. "I've listened to everything. The talk about the car, the talk about my dad, the talk about what I've earned and what I haven't." He took a slow breath. "And I need to say something, not as LeBron James's son, but as Bronny James, the basketball player." He leaned in, his gaze direct. "That car, it's just a car. I'm grateful to Miss Buss for the intent, but it doesn't help me make a jump shot. It doesn't help me fight through a screen. It's metal and seats. The only thing it did was give people another reason to doubt me before I even started, and I accept that. I have to." Then he delivered the line that would echo through the league. "But let's be clear about one thing. My path was never going to be normal. My last name made sure of that. So the idea that I was ever going to get to have a normal rookie experience, that's a fantasy. It was a fantasy my dad hoped for, and I love him for it, but it was never real." He continued, his words methodical and devastatingly self-aware. "The pressure, the gifts, the hate, the expectations, it's all part of the deal I accepted when I chose this. So I'm not here to complain about a car or about nepotism or about any of it. I'm here to tell you I see it, all of it, and none of it matters if I can't play." He concluded with a quiet, seismic declaration. "So you can keep the car, you can keep the takes. I don't need anyone to make my path easier, and I don't need anyone feeling sorry for me that it's hard. Just watch me work. That's the only statement that's ever going to matter." With a final nod, he stepped away from the podium, leaving a room of veteran journalists in stunned, silent disbelief. He hadn't defended his father. He hadn't attacked the owner. He had dissected his own impossible reality with a chilling, mature clarity. And in doing so, he had reframed the entire narrative. The scandal was no longer about a gift. It was about the young man who had just declared himself aware of every trap set for him and unafraid to walk through them all. The basketball world was left with one shocking, undeniable truth.
But what do you, Bronny James, want to say?
Everyone's heard this before. I just want to, have people know my name is Bronny James, and not being, identified as just LeBron James' son. I feel like that would be a great answer.
Make the ballots public, so you don't have to look like such an idiot if you vote
Or you
for.
can look like an idiot.
Okay.
Or if you want to look like a fool and vote for Bronny James, who's never played, then
Yeah.
let's put your name on it.
Bring some
Bronny's statement wasn't just words. It was a strategic detonation that dismantled the prevailing narratives around him. To understand its impact, you have to dissect its brutal, layered meaning. First, he masterfully neutralized the scandal's central symbol by flatly stating the luxury car was just a car and that it doesn't help me make a jump shot. Bronny performed an act of radical demotion. He took the most inflammatory object in the NBA, a symbol of privilege and favoritism, and stripped it of all power, reducing it to mere irrelevant machinery. In doing so, he issued a silent command to the media, the fans, and his own locker room. This prop in your drama means nothing to my actual job. Change the channel. Then came the line that would resonate with heartbreaking clarity. It was a fantasy my dad hoped for, and I love him for it, but it was never real. Here, Bronny did something astonishing. He acknowledged his father's deep, protective love, while gently but firmly declaring its ultimate goal, a normal rookie experience, to be an impossible dream. This wasn't rebellion, it was emancipation. He revealed he had long ago accepted a harsh reality LeBron still fought against. His path was, is, and always will be abnormal. He wasn't rejecting his father's love. He was announcing he no longer needed the illusion his father tried to maintain. The core of his maturity was the acceptance of his unique burden as a pre-negotiated contract. The deal I accepted when I chose this, he stated, reframing the immense pressure, the unearned advantages and disadvantages, not as things happening to him, but as terms he willingly signed up for. This transformed him from a passive victim of circumstance into an active, accountable participant in his own story. By taking ownership of his unique hell, he stole the narrative power from every critic, analyst, and skeptic. Finally, his closing remark, "Just watch me work," was not a plea for patience. It was a gauntlet thrown down. He decisively moved the battleground from the op-ed pages and social media threads back to the only arena where he could ever
Experience. Extremely grateful to be here, to give an opportunity to be here. I'm just trying to showcase my best work, what I've been putting in all after the season, and just take it all in. And I'm grateful everything is
You hear from
going.
your dad?
Yeah. He's been talking to me after the days and stuff, checking in stuff like that. But he's giving me words of encouragement and stuff. But, yeah.
Bronny, you mentioned the word grateful. After
When he signed with the Lakers, there were some people that put up murals, and some
people
fans
didn't like that.
defaced it, right?
Yeah,
And
LA people don't play.
The immediate aftermath of Bronny's press conference was a profound, reverberating silence, followed by a seismic shift in perception from the NBA's most respected voices. The very figures who had led the charge against the car gift, Charles Barkley, Shaquille O'Neal, Magic Johnson, found themselves disarmed. Their outrage was rendered obsolete. On air, Barkley, uncharacteristically subdued, admitted, "Well, I'll be damned. Kid's got more maturity in his pinky than I had at 25. He just took everybody's ammunition and threw it in the lake. You can't attack a man who already told you he sees everything you see. Respect." Shock echoed the pivot. That wasn't a rookie talking, that was a general. He understood the assignment better than the people who gave it to him. The conversation is over. Now we watch. Magic Johnson distilled it to a tweet. "A masterclass in controlling your own narrative. Welcome to the league, young man." The condemnation had evaporated, replaced by a hard-earned veteran respect for a poise that transcends physical skill. In their eyes, Bronny hadn't just answered his critics, he had passed an unspoken initiation rite, demonstrating the emotional and psychological toughness required to survive at the highest level. For LeBron James, the statement triggered a deeply personal and complex reckoning. Sources indicate his initial reaction was one of stunned pride, swiftly followed by a poignant private realization. His son had publicly articulated what LeBron had fought against for years, that the normal path was a fantasy. Bronny had gently but firmly declared his independence, not from his father's love, but from the protective narrative LeBron had painstakingly built. The king, who has spent 2 decades controlling every narrative, was suddenly witnessing his son expertly control the most important one of all, his own. The dynamic had fundamentally and forever shifted from protector and protege to something closer to peers. LeBron's project to shield Bronny was over. Bronny had just announced he was ready for the war.
Around these guys, anybody stand out? Anything pop to you that maybe seems different, or growth from the foundation that was kind of laid in the organization in JJ's first year?
Everything has been great. Energy in the summer. We come out here every day ready to work and ready to get better as a team. I've been playing, against.
In that moment, I'm asking myself if I can still play without cheating the game. Can I give everything to the game still? Truth is, I've been asking myself this question at the end of the season for
Perhaps the most significant and immediate transformation occurred behind the closed doors of the Lakers' practice facility. The toxic cloud of resentment that had settled over the team following the car scandal began to dissipate, replaced by a new, grudging, and ultimately genuine respect. Where veterans had once seen a coddled beneficiary, they now saw a young man who had voluntarily shouldered a burden they could scarcely comprehend. By naming the deal and accepting its harsh terms, Bronny didn't ask for sympathy. He demanded a shift in criteria. The conversation among players was no longer, why does he get that? It became, damn, he actually gets it. A veteran role player, speaking anonymously, captured the shift. It's one thing to have pressure. It's another thing to look it dead in the eye, name it, and say, I got this. That press conference, that was him doing his first real NBA hard foul. He got our attention. Now we see if he can back it up on the floor, but at least he's speaking our language now. The card doesn't matter. The mentality does. The coaching staff, previously handcuffed by the perception of favoritism, also felt a change. The gift from ownership was now publicly framed by the recipient himself as an irrelevant distraction. This gave coaches the freedom to coach him harder, to demand more, without the fear of appearing to challenge the owner's anointed one. The playing field, psychologically, had been leveled. Bronny had effectively fired the starting pistol on his own career, on his own brutally honest terms. The locker room, built on earned respect, had just witnessed him earn his first crucial measure of it, not with a dunk, but with daunting self-awareness.
And hit it. How do you kind of mentally go through that whole thing?
I just say, I've been just taught to play the right way my whole life, so just me going in there and playing my game is always something that I'm gonna do. Just going in there with that same mindset and keep my head leveled.
Who are the 7 NBA players to score 10,000 points before 25 years old?
10,000 points before 25 years old. LeBron James.
LeBron's on here.
He's on every single list. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar.
Kareem's.
Bronny James's statement didn't just quiet critics. It violently rewrote the script of his own NBA story. The narrative arc that had been imposed upon him, a tale of privilege, nepotism, and unearned advantage, was shredded. In its place, he offered a far more compelling and gritty story, one of agency, clear-eyed acceptance, and a demand to be judged solely on performance. The most potent weapon against him had always been the narrative of passive benefit, the idea that he was merely a fortunate heir. By forcefully stating the deal I accepted, Bronny performed a stunning narrative jujitsu. He transformed the story from what was given to him to what he consciously chose to undertake. This shifted him from a symbol of nepotism to a portrait of agency, making critiques of unearned advantage feel suddenly shallow and misplaced. He acknowledged the uneven playing field not as a gift, but as a condition of his employment. A brilliant rhetorical move that disarmed his detractors. Furthermore, he executed a masterful recentering of the conversation. Before, every discussion about Bronny was a referendum on LeBron, on Jeannie Buss, on the Lakers' culture. With this statement, he declared all that background noise irrelevant. Just watch me work was a command to focus the lens solely on him, his jump shot, his defense, his effort. He successfully separated his evaluation from the chaotic ecosystem surrounding him, something his father, for all his power, had never been able to do. In doing so, Bronny achieved the impossible. He granted himself the one thing his name had always denied him, a clean slate on his own terms. He didn't ask for it to be wiped clean of expectations, but of peripheral drama. The slate now reads, "Can he play?" Not "what did his dad or the owner do?" He exchanged a narrative of spoiled privilege for one of daunting, self-aware challenge. The basketball world, which loves nothing more than a prove 'em wrong story, now has a new one to follow. And for the first time, Bronny James is the unequivocal author of his own story.
I feel like I play good. My job is just to play a role and play the right way, make sure I can get my teammates involved and stuff like that. But again, I was just super grateful for the opportunity to be out there. I felt like I should be out there. But yeah, I'm super grateful for everything.
What would it mean if you did end up on the Lakers?
We put a bunch of bags on the shelf.
So to put it in,
Which bag is the deepest?
mostly it has to do with how you
I like
be able
what
to
you
put
did
the ball
there,
in
Joe.
the
In the end, Bronny James's shocking statement did more than manage a public relations crisis. It marked a historic, irreversible passing of the torch within the James dynasty, redefining both his own future and his father's legacy in the process. For 2 decades, LeBron James has been the NBA's master strategist, controlling narratives and building empires. His most personal project was constructing a sheltered path for his son. Bronny's statement was the quiet, powerful announcement that the project was complete, not because the path was finished, but because the traveler was ready to walk his own, more rugged road. LeBron's legacy as a father is now cemented in this moment. He raised a son with the emotional fortitude to declare his independence at the epicenter of the storm. The King's ultimate triumph may not be a championship, but the poised heir he has produced. The July NBA draft was merely a procedural formality. Bronny's true draft into the league happened at that podium. He wasn't just selected by the Lakers, he drafted himself into the NBA's consciousness as a sovereign entity. In a few minutes, he performed the ultimate exchange, trading the perceived toxic advantage of his name for the far more powerful and durable currency of self-possession and earned respect. His professional story now starts not with a question mark, but with a period of his own making. The speculation is over. The evaluation of the work has begun. Finally, Bronny authored a potent new blueprint for all legacy children in professional sports. The old scripts, fighting the shadow, leaning into the privilege, or crumbling under the pressure, were torn up. He presented a fourth option: clear-eyed acknowledgement, unwavering accountability, and a ruthless focus on the task itself. He showed that the only way to escape the long shadow is to stand so firmly in your own light that the shadow disappears. The NBA and LeBron James will never see him the same way again. The pupil didn't just speak, he taught the master and the entire league a lesson in defining oneself. So, what is the final judgment? Was Bronny James's statement a premeditated masterstroke of public relations, a calculated move to seize control of a spiraling narrative, or was it an authentic, raw moment of clarity from a young man who finally had to speak his truth? Did he disrespect his father by shattering LeBron's protective fantasy, or did he ultimately honor him by demonstrating the strength LeBron instilled in him? And what does this mean for the future? Is Bronny now liberated, or has he placed an even heavier prove-it expectation squarely upon his own shoulders? The mic drop has echoed. The work remains. Whose side are you on? Was Bronny's statement genius or necessary? Sound off in the comments below. For the deepest analysis of the moments that change sports legacies, subscribe and hit the bell. We don't just cover the game, we decode the defining moments.